Yes, and Ms. Jolene Tagawa also. They're part of the team that will be helping out during this session this afternoon. And Tiara, I'm sorry. I called her Chanel, so it's Tiara. Wonderful, Miss Tiara Blanco. Thank you very much. Okay. This meeting is now called into order. Good afternoon. Well, pursuant to the SNILD delegation quorum rule under Rule 4, Section 2, we have more than 3 members present for the committee meeting this afternoon. So we do have enough quorum to conduct the meeting. May I hear a motion to adopt the agenda for today?
So
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda for today, Thursday, April 8, 2021. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The agenda has been adopted. Thank you. At this present time, I would like to open the floor for any public comments regarding the items on the agenda for today. Please proceed to the podium, state your name, and you may conduct your comments. Anybody?
Good afternoon, JGO, right?
Yes, sir.
Joe.
Yes.
I came here today in support of my colleague, Mr. Oscar Robata. I've known him since I was a kid, and since he's been a congressman previously, and we've been colleagues at SHEPA for the past 5 years, and I consider him a mentor. Also, in regards to our work together at SHEPA, and he's been guiding me, and I look to it for some guidance, and also for if there's any issues that I had that I'm not too sure about, he's always been there to help me in regards to our program, and just here to show my support for him, and for this board to reapprove his appointment to the SHEPA board, and. Like I said, we've been colleagues for 5 years, but I've known him for a long time. And he's been a great leader of the CNMI. And I look forward to working again with him. If so be that you guys confirm us again to back to the SHEPA board. Just giving support for him to be renominated to the SHEPA board.
Thank you. Can you please state your name for the record?
My name is Juan K. Tenorio.
Thank you very much. Anybody else from the public that would like to make a comment on the meeting agenda for today? There's no further public comment. It's officially closed. Next item on the agenda would be the nominee for the SHEPA board. Actually, he's been renominated by Mayor Appeton, Mr. Oscar M. Babauta. If you would please proceed to any of the open chairs and address the committee. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and buenas tardes to all of you, and JGO's now committee this afternoon. I apologize for not submitting any written statement because of the fact that I only learned about this public meeting regarding my confirmation. I call it a hearing for being renominated again by the Honorable Mayor Appeton. I was only told by phone yesterday afternoon. However, I was preparing myself to go to work when I received a phone call from the office. However, I am here as a result of that phone call, knowing that there'll be a big schedule. Excuse me, let me just turn on mine. I'm sorry. Madam Chair and members of the committee, first of all, I'd like to express my gratitude and appreciation to you as chairman of this vital committee under the Saipan and Northern Island delegation. I thank you for the opportunity to be present this afternoon and to share some lights and answer some questions that your committee, you and your committee may have regarding the Saipan Higher Education Fund Act program that's administered through the board of directors under the office of the mayor, basically for the indigent community, young students pursuing post-secondary education, primarily from the Territorial District. I am humble and I thank the mayor for reappointing myself and that of my colleague too, who is sitting in the gallery, and I express my gratitude for his brief statement supporting my renomination. Madam Chair, to start with, the year 2020 has brought us almost to the extent of bringing the Commonwealth to its knees. It is an unprecedented matters bestowed upon the Commonwealth through the unexpected arrival of so-called COVID-19 viruses. This has stalled, impede, both in many cases, social life of our people, financial stability of our people, professional stability of our people, and many other reasons. However, the board works. Last year, we worked closely with our NFC counterpart in addressing their COVID-19 trauma. We have extended, as chair, applications for financial assistance, also extended the process of getting together the paperwork to maybe another 6 months or rather 60 days to allow each students to gather, because at that time everything was a standstill and it was pretty hard for all the individuals knocking on our doors to cater to all of them, unlike the regular reasonable pre-COVID-19 time. We managed to help them. We have also eased up a lot of our stringent policies in granting, not necessarily leniency, but allowing them ample time to answer to our requests or regulatory requirement. These are the things that we faced during 2020 year as program managers or program executors of SHEFA Fund. However, how hard our financial dilemma was back then, the board got together in regular board meeting and decided in order, because as I said earlier, Madam Chair, members, it has impacted gravely on the Commonwealth's ability to continue to enhance its financial abilities to produce revenue and be appropriated and expended for the various programs of the Commonwealth. Good afternoon. Representative Yatama. So we managed to convince, as a result of a dialogue in between board members, we managed to approve and remove some of the incentive programs that is normally allowed for each students going on post-secondary education, primarily in towards their master's and doctorate degrees. In principle, we remove everything in general just to allow the program to continue to carry itself beyond fiscal year or calendar year 2020. We remove the incentive program that is normally granted to all these higher degree achievements. Like the doctorate degree, we continue to sustain, and we continue to administer their incentive. And of course, we knowingly that's towards the end of their academic studies. And that goes to individuals studying engineers, becoming attorneys themselves. So the others are being suspended for the time being to allow us to recover financially, because as all of you probably knew, the only source of income that we get to run this program is primarily from poker machine fees. This is from the island of Saipan and Northern Ireland, Territorial District in general. So that's where we are now, and we continue to exercise prudent fiscal management moving forward from COVID-19 and post-COVID-19 season, Madam Chair. This year, we have so far executed 579 applications who have been approved so far, and we are down now to our 6th withdrawal requests from finance to allow our students to continue their studies both here in the Commonwealth and abroad. Early this year, the board also met and restructured some of our not so popular regulations by allowing our armed service indigent population who has availed themselves prior to joining the armed services, various branch of government, availed themselves with the SHEFA program as well as the Cinema Scholarship program. We came to an agreement to remove this obstacle because we felt that the service to our country includes the Commonwealth. They have sacrificed a lot of great strides, both individually and their families, in order for them to pursue a career in the military service. Thus, the understanding that we consider their service in the Armed Forces, Department of Defense, as a service to our country, which the Commonwealth falls under. So, similarly to individuals that are required to return to work in that case. But yet again, Madam Chair, I like to echo something that, our Commonwealth, while the population is growing, our Commonwealth capability of addressing all these educated individuals that have decided to stay abroad. A lot of these issues, Madam Chair and members, is the lack of opportunity to work here. In government, I have continued to forceful prodding our Civil Service Commission to remove that, excuse me, that phrase that says equivalent master's degree, BS degree, BA degree, and 5 years of work experience. No one is graduated, and you, Representative Lenny, can testify to this and witness to this, and most of us here can witness that no college, university student graduate with with 5 years or more work of experience. Because we know for a fact that they just came up freshly from their post-secondary education, achieving the highest honor of having to graduate BA, BS, master's program, and for that matter, even engineers and lawyers. The job opportunity in our Commonwealth lacks uh, the ability of having to put these kids into work. I would say I can only agree that hopefully maybe in the private sector, but not in government. Uh, Most of these students come back facing or rather looking jobs and work with their, semi-government. This year, we remove that obstacle from the armed services members of counting your services towards similarly to performing work for Commonwealth in general. So that is a breather in itself for them and their families. We have also vigorously now on our table drawing up a lot of changes in our program to coincide with the changes of environment nowadays in our Commonwealth. Madam Chair, thank you, and good afternoon to everybody again. I'm so sorry that I'm not prepared to submit a written testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Babauta.
Really to answer any-
I do appreciate your verbal delivery this afternoon. We're going to move right along on the agenda in the interest of time. We're on item 5 under discussion. And I do want to go on the record to recognize the members that are present this afternoon. Representative Danita Yamtamay, Representative John Paul Sablan, Representative Vicente Camacho, Representative Joseph Lee Ponderero, and Representative BJ Atto. Members, it's open now for discussion. If you have any questions, please address the nominee and try to perhaps maybe limit your conversation to about 3 minutes each, and we'll just go around. I'll reserve my own questions and discussion for last to allow you members to ask the questions with the nominee. Please proceed.
Madam Chair, yeah. I still assume that you have also received our 2020 annual report.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have numerous reports regarding Shefa, so I'm going to reserve my own questions to the last. Members, anybody that want to start the conversation this afternoon? Recognize Representative Camacho.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome, Mr. Babauta. My question is, in collaboration with NMC or other academic higher institution, is there any program in place for graduates within the government and private sector?
Representative Camacho, we don't deal with programs in various government agencies aside from assisting graduate students in seeking, arbitrating them or coordinating our effort with the agency that has potential vacancies for our applicants, if that's what you're alluding to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other members? Recognize Representative Lipon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no questions to Mr. Babauta. I'm looking at his resume and biodata, and the extensive resume really indicate that the Chairman Babauta here had taken Shefa to the next level, even with shortage of funding. We managed to assist our student, and I commend the entire board for doing their diligent responsibility, and hope that they continue absence of the resources to provide and assist our students that are seeking higher level of education, and hope that we can identify resources to fund SHEFA. I did look at the report provided, and I'm content. I see no reason why that this body will not be able to approve of the candidate before us. With that, thank you, Madam Chair.
Recognize Representative John Paul Sablan.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I do also don't have a question, but I just want to state for the record that during the previous legislature, we have worked diligently with Chairman Oscar Babalta, former speaker, and he has been also with the SHEFA for a couple of years already, serving on the board. We worked in the past SNILD legislature where we work together to find funding so that we can continue to support our students with their higher education. And during those years of working with Chairman Oscar and Babalta, we see improvements in the SHEFA program, and despite the low revenue right now as a result of the pandemic, they are still trying their best to provide services to our students. And as he mentioned also in his brief remarks that the source of funding that SHEFA only depends on is really actually the poker fees. But we have also in the past funded them on the casino license fees. So it's Chairman Oscar Babalta has proven his leadership, and for these reasons, Madam Chairwoman and members of this body, I want to state for the record that I support his renomination, and I want to, on the record, also thank the mayor again for renominating him to serve as we need such a leadership, most especially for kids for their higher education. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Representative John Paul Sablan. Any other member? Recognize Representative BJ Atom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't really have any questions for nominee Mr. Babalta. Just to thank him for accepting the renomination by the mayor and continuing to work over at SHEFA along with his colleagues down there. Mr. Babalta, as you can see under his resume and his biodata, that he was a member in the creation of the SHEFA program here in the Sinamay. And as he mentioned there, the only reliant source that the SHEFA receives is from the poker fees. And unfortunately, under Public Law 1856, one of the provisions in 1856 also mentioned that any future closure of or any future licenses that have been non-renewed or revoked cannot be added to the SHEFA program or to the Sinamay license in regards to 3rd Senatorial District. So I believe when SHEFA opened its doors, we were at approximately 747 machines. And at this time, we are down to less than 400, probably about 320 some machines. And only $6,000 of those goes into the delegation for appropriation, and $3 million is obligated to the SHEFA program. Unfortunately, with those fees, we are not able to match the $3 million under the obligation of 13-21 as amended. So we under the delegation have been pretty creative over the last couple of years in getting the funds to SHEFA. Unfortunately, with the pandemic and obviously the non-existent of the casino industry right now in the Commonwealth, those funding sources have been depleted, but the board has been creative in working its regulations to provide for the students even in these difficult times. And we thank them for their continued support to our students and for their um, thought of moving forward and making sure that these students do not lose at least their scholarship benefits. And in regards to Rep. Camacho's concern, or that he had brought up, you're right, Rep. Camacho. Previously, the SENA mine actually had an office dedicated to the students of the SENA mine that are receiving scholarship funds from the program, which was just the SENA mine scholarship office, and provided them with job opportunities this way. Unfortunately, like Mr. Rabata said, the 5-year experience always took the students out of the competition for those specific positions, speaking on civil service positions. So those are the challenges that we face, and I understand that the board is being creative in assisting our students that are not able to come back this way to honor the contract that they have signed with the program itself. And so with that, Madam Chair, Mr. Valta, thank you again for accepting the renomination from our mayor and continue the work that you guys have done. And I fully support the renomination, and we'll wait to the delegation level when we vote on your renomination. Thank you again.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Representative Babauta. Any other member recognize Representative Danita?
First of all, I would like to ask for excuse for coming late because I was in another meeting. For some reason, there was a mix up in the, and so, okay, so according to this, I mean, from his bio data, he seems very, Mr. Rabauta is very much qualified, and thank you for accepting the renomination. And then, yes, I support you. Thank you.
I still have the strength to help our community, and more especially our younger generation.
Any additional discussions from the members before I begin my own? Members, you're good? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Babauta, for engaging with the fellow members this afternoon. I do have some, I'd like to have some conversation with you. I do appreciate your statements this afternoon regarding the lack of opportunity for employment in the Commonwealth. So I'm thinking you're probably referencing more of the public sector rather than the private sector, correct?
Both, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I do want to expand a little bit more of the discussion this afternoon regarding what is the latest development with the Civil Service Commission regarding your concerns about the extensive work experience requirement. I do recall a while back that that was always been a pressing concern whenever individuals are trying to get into the public sector for employment when they're returning back home. And I'd just like to know in our committee as well to find out from you, what is the most current conversation with the Civil Service Commission?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few months ago, not too long ago, it was approximately 3 months ago, I tried convincing the chair of the Civil Service Commission, who happens also to be a board member of SHEFA. And we were discussing this just between he and I in trying to convince his fellow board members to come up with a solution, because we continue to fork out thousands and millions of dollars for our cinema scholars, and yet when the opportunity comes for them to come back, in some cases, some of them you already landed. They waited for a year to land a job. Unfortunately, the hindrance is, or the academic portion is commendable. They're professionally being qualified. The single phrase of that goes with the requirement is the experience, work experience. And I tried to convince back then Chairman Munia of our, Ray Munia of our Civil Service Commission. And he echoed the same sentiment, and he wished to bring this up to his fellow board members, commission members rather. However, only recently that I know that he is no longer the chair of the Civil Service Commission as he stepped down. But I will continue to follow up on this issue because I sympathize seeing all this young generations in as much as they want to partake in growing up our economy through their educational backgrounds in various field. I continue to feel personally that the reluctance of the civil service in addressing this matter never come to fruitful solutions. So I beg all of you, Madam Chair, and members of this legislature, including the Senate, to revisit this issue with them and see how we can legally remove that portion of the requirement so that our own people can come back after going abroad for 4 years, 5 years, attaining the highest level of be it. The only thing that is open right now that I can, from my experience, is teachers. And that's the only viable, that's the reason why most of our liberal arts applicants became teachers with NMC. So, I'm so sorry, I didn't mention, Madam Chair, that this year also we decided to forcefully, not in a sense, forcibly force our post-secondary candidate students or applicants. We decided to allow them to attend here in the Sinamay the first 2 years so that they have, the feeling of being a college student with our NMC. At the same time, helping out NMC too with their programs insofar as financial issues concerned, because those grants that we give out to our students attending NMC goes directly to NMC for their tuition fees and books and everything. So yes, Madam Chair, I humbly request your earnest effort in addressing this with the respective agencies in removing that obstacle that bars our students returning back. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. My other question, I'm reading your citizen-centric report of 2020. And I'm always curious, I noticed also on your annual report, it does mention U.S. institutions that are chosen by the student applicants. So I'm just curious to know from the SHEFA board, how many of the recipients of SHEFA are attending higher education learning outside of the United States, for example, in foreign countries?
Madam Chair, I can get that specific data other than what is mentioned in our 2020 annual report. I do not recall or otherwise knew that we have foreign countries. Rather say my students attending foreign countries university.
Thank you. If you have that data, yes, please do send it to the committee. The only reason why I raised that concern because it does not mention on the citizen-centric report about, it says here, at an institution of higher learning. Normally, in most of the journals that I read and in documents of educational institutions, it mentions U.S. accredited institutions.
Yep.
So I'm just curious because, oftentimes we want to kind of like look that further into to make sure that it's not to question the integrity or the value of education in any other foreign country. I'm just very much interested in the data of whether what percentage of the student population that are recipients of the SHEFA money are also being educated in other higher education institutions, as the document states so. And I think it would be fantastic to know that.
And that, Madam Chair, be assured that I just saw our administrative, especially the assistants back there are taking notes, so you'll get that data.
Thank you very much.
To clarify further.
Yes, and for the record, I failed to mention also, I'm sorry, it's not a different subject, but one of our members, Representative Tina Sablon, is excused from this meeting. Thank you. Furthermore, looking again on your 2020 centric report, it talks about funding, and I do understand that a lot of the revenues of the Commonwealth have been affected as a result of the COVID-19 situation that we are in, and we are not an isolated case. There's many other, destinations that are affected as well. But I'm curious to know, because it does mention casino gross revenue tax. I do understand that the character of that money was originally the casino license fee, but subsequently legislation was enacted changing the character to a casino gross revenue tax. So my interest here in the conversation is to find out from you what percentage of your budget, not minding right now the situation we are in, I'm just curious on your overall prior budget of how much percentage of the allocation of the casino gross revenue tax was given to Shefa. A percentage of it is good enough, and you can give me the more details at a later date.
Okay, Madam Chair, thank you. But let me just further clarify. The casino revenue tax that was earmarked by the prior legislature from the gross revenue tax, the amount of 1.5 is devoted only for the grant awards and not necessarily our operational costs.
And was that the only allocation that you received?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. Wait, before coronavirus, you did not get any other allocation?
We do, primarily from our SNILD
Okay.
esteemed members, since it was a local creation of SNILD, the program, they continue to support through the appropriation of our poker machine.
Right, but from the casino gross revenue
No,
tax,
no.
that was the only allocation you
Yes,
got,
ma'am.
$1.5 million.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Furthermore, we do know that in workforce development, we do have, across the country really, there's a percentage of the population that are individuals that are not the ordinary people that will go to higher learning, such as universities and colleges. And in the workforce language, we call vocational training institutions the other college. So in this conversation that I have with you this afternoon, I'm very interested in knowing from the Shefa board what percentage of your funding went out to assist the students at NMTI.
Madam Chair, NFTI came to the picture about 2 years ago, more than that. However, we don't keep percentage track as far as what goes, how much goes to NFTI. But the prior board and during my tenure, I continue to support NMTI by granting them a lot of leniency in terms of applying and allowing them sufficient time to gather the documentations, because we acknowledge that NMTI, a great vocational institute, is not necessarily the same as any post-secondary academic institute like the Northern Mariners College, University of Guam. So this is a spatial a school that is devoted to training our people at the same time educate them. Similarly to taking math and English in high school, but at the same level, we fully support these kids, and we have never reluctantly disapproved any of them. Only until COVID-19 arrived that we suspend giving awards, because at the same time they also close and they cannot pursue further their training of our children. So I understand that the NFTI now Trade Institute, they call it Trade Institute, is in it with new management, and we are waiting for the agency to reopen, and hopefully we will gain some more applicants. Be assured, Madam Chair, that we will continue to support these kids to attain their trade certifications.
Thank you, Mr. Babauta. I'm glad you mentioned that today because we should be concerned as a community for the at-risk population. I have a very a big heart for the at-risk population. I'm a true believer that when we open up the opportunities for our children and we provide them that opportunity and give them the financial support, that we could definitely turn their lives around. And all of us under the umbrella of this government, regardless whether we are elected or not, we do have a responsibility to make it better for our people and for our children. So I really appreciate you for focusing your effort also on assisting the NMTI students, regardless of how their current composition of their institution is happening right now. We're reading about it in the newspapers, but we should not lose focus of who our clients are and what we are trying to do to better our community. I do want to recognize our SNILD chair, Mr. Benny Sablan. And Chairman, if you have any questions, you can take the floor.
I'll yield to other members to ask your questions. That's fine. I'm here to listen.
Actually, they're done asking, so I do have further conversation, but I'd like to give you the floor if you have any. Thank you. Let me proceed. I want to focus again on your citizen-centric report of 2020 and on the conversation of vocational technical education institution. Looking at page 1 that says maximum duration of eligibility for financial assistance per degree type, less than 2 years under trade vocational certification. I'm just wondering, what is the normal turnaround period of the students that are going through, for example, all those trade school in Arizona or in California? Oftentimes, normally, like if you go through a certification for a auto mechanic, example like a Nissan auto mechanic, which is highly certified person. In your experience running SHEFA, what is the turnaround time of our citizens that are pursuing their certifications through those kind of schools? And I'm wondering why the limitation of less than 2 years.
It's 3 years, Madam Chair.
It's 3 years?
3 years. But again, the turnaround time of these children or these applicants, when they do get certified, they normally just stay behind because the school that they go to will normally call potential employers. However, in many cases, employers will say, we don't have that vacancy now because in that certification institution, you have a variety of professionalism, or they call them specialists. Specialists in EPA, combustion, fuel, hydraulics, air conditioning. It varies. So in most cases, our own kids would venture into more detailed specialty, and that is very hard to find here in the end.
Okay, so thank you. I just want to bring to your attention because your report says 2 years, and you're saying today that it's 3 years actually for funding. Is that what you're saying?
Well, if it takes 3 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we'll continue to fund that.
It actually makes me feel much better because you have 12 months out.
Right.
Which could provide assistance. But yeah, the longer that they could achieve the certification and get credentialized really in the workforce and get apprenticized is what it is, because those are high-paying jobs.
True.
When they come home, I do want to encourage the SHEFA board that when we talk about employment, what I notice in our system, which is really discouraging oftentimes in my observation, as leaders of the Commonwealth, we often talk about employment that only happens in the public sector. But I don't often hear conversations of entrepreneurship. And this is what I want to talk about this afternoon with the SHEFA nominees. We need to start thinking outside the box. That employment is not just necessarily being employed by somebody else. That our people are very much capable of getting their own businesses to jumpstart and be part of the economy, to become self-employed and to contribute to their families and themselves. So I do want to encourage the board members to please to also be thinking along those lines, that when we talk about the lack of employment, it's because we're not touching the other area of employment, of becoming self-employed individuals. That is the most gratifying feeling in life. If you could generate your own income by working for yourself. So I really, really would like to encourage you all to start talking like that, and not just focusing on, are we going to find a job in the government for this person, or are we going to be talking to Civil Service Commission about all the other issues that we are facing? How about having a conversation with SBDC? How about having a conversation with the financial entities like CDA, too soon to be called CEDA? How about having a conversation with SBA representatives that are coming, that are dumping a lot of money in the Commonwealth through PPP loans, through the financial institutions that are participating in the banking industry? Let's start talking like that and start shifting our mindset, because that's the way, in my opinion, that our people can achieve success and get themselves out of poverty. I really, really would like to encourage that at the board level. And I'm just talking SHEFA. I'm talking CNMI scholarship. I'm talking all the other government entities that are in the public law, 15108 regarding employment. It mentions OPM. It mentions CNMI Department of Labor. It mentions numerous government entities that are supposed to be coming to the table and be having this kind of conversation. We have got to change the way we see things in the Commonwealth. Besides just talking every day about coronavirus. If you look online today, a lot of the people across the country are generating money by monetizing their online businesses. Why is it that we are not talking about that today? I just don't get it. And that's the reason why I'm calling for a shift in mindset, a shift in focus, because our children can't have a better life. It's not just coming home because mom and dad is connected to, whatever administration is holding the power. That's not what it is. We have got to plant the seeds in our children that they can stand on their own 2 feet by jump-starting their own business, and not passing on that kind of mindset to them that the only way for you to survive back home is if you're connected to the system. No, it's not true. It's not true. And this is what I'm here for. I want to have this kind of conversation with appointees, with nominees. It's not just about cutting those checks every semester. It's about really sitting down at the table, being a responsible body, and having these kinds of conversations. How can you look outside the box? How can you follow data? For example, I'm not sure whether you guys even look at the prevailing wage reports. I'm not sure when meetings are being conducted, whether all of this data are being utilized to have a conversation, to look at the sectors that are driving our, and where can we feed the pipeline to give the opportunities to our people that are wanting to come home. It is our responsibility, because we know U.S. Public Law 10229, right, calls for a transition of foreign workers at a certain time period. What are we doing as a system when we're talking about investing in the education of our children? What are we doing with all the data right before us to accelerate the entry of our children that are completing their training and education and wanting to come home, to stay here and contribute to our economy, to make a life here? I've heard it so many times. My own son wants to come home. And that's the reason why I'm different in terms of talking like this, is because I want to put this seed and start planting that in the system, that we can do that to our children. That yes, you can come home, but we all have to come together on this. It's not just about how we talked about it 50 years ago. We can't continue that. We have to really think outside the box and start approaching it differently. I really would encourage that at the board level. Let me go further. Somewhere in your documents, it talks about outreach. activities. I've been there, and I'm sure you know what it takes to do a lot of outreach. But I just want to hear more from Shefa. What kind of activities in terms of reaching out to promote and to engage all the other partners within the system? Is there much more proactive effort, or kind of like just do we wait around for somebody to make an announcement that, hey, we're having this job fair, or we're doing this? I'd like to hear more, something more exciting or different that maybe somebody else is not doing. Can you share that with us?
Sure, Madam Chair. Experience with our staff is, and you're right, we conduct outreach programs. And basically, this is towards senior, targeted to the junior and senior potential students or potential applicants of the program. And we go to various high schools in Saipan, in our third and fourth district, both in private and public school. We participate and we kind of guide, staff guides the potential applicants on what is best, for them to fit in, so that when the students goes to post-secondary education, they feel comfortable. If they want to be a nurse, so be it. We guide them want to become an accountant, so be it. And we will continue to support those desires of our younger generation. And we participate in a variety of ways in trying to open up the opportunity, and primarily here on the island, not necessarily abroad. As I mentioned earlier, we have CSO applicants going abroad for the next 2 years, and to be conducted here on the island for an institution, just so that we see how they grow from our program itself. So yes, we do, ma'am. We do our active outreach program to all the kids, potential applicants.
Thank you very much. I do encourage for more, aggressive outreach in terms of.
And we will.
Thank you very much. That to me is very comforting. Whenever anything is focused on bettering the lives of our children, our community, is what really brings a lot of warmth to me personally. I would really like to see a lot of our people get lifted out of poverty.
I am with you.
I'm so passionate about that. I don't know whether, are you aware of what is or what was the latest publication of the unemployment rate of the Commonwealth?
Not yet, Madam Chair.
Okay, so I just want to encourage the board members to perhaps maybe as you go further into your conversation in the future, to start utilizing some data so that it kind of like guides you in your decision-making process. This was published back in 2018. It was 10.5% unemployment, 9% for Rhoda, 6.8% for Tinian, 10.8% for Saipan. So these are the things that I normally follow in terms of how our decisions being guided, so that we can make a better decision in terms of occupations and employment opportunities, and how can we better the lives of our people. And my last question to you, Mr. Babauta, this afternoon, I'm looking on your 2020 Shefa report, and I notice on page 8, it says how many previous recipients owe Shefa as of February 8, 2021. It's 2,081. And then the other box says how much is owed by recipients that failed to work in Saipan, public and private sector. Is that $16.9 million? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you have a more conversation on that with the committee, please?
Sure. This is as a result of the growing numbers of applicants who have since graduated. And this is from the inception of Shefa program, and that is over a decade ago, or more so. The attribution to this is, in some cases, morality issue. And then we can do anything about it. And I acknowledge that because I, for one, will not hinder your ability to marry John or Bill and just stay abroad because he's in the service. And to some extent, it varies. And as I mentioned earlier, many of these recipients, Madam Chair, is again the lack of opportunity in our Commonwealth to come back. I know that some of them chosen to come back, have landed jobs in the private sector, being in a very good position. My nephew is one who has just been furloughed because the business that he employed closed down. To what extent, I don't know, and to when. So many of these are attributed to those factors, variety of factors. Although this should reflect a decrease, a little decrease, as a result of our effort in collecting what is all back to the program pursuant to the MOU between the program and the applicant. However, last year, as when COVID-19 arrived, I have, through the board, I've instructed the administrator to cease and desist sending out collection letters because people are hurting. We don't know exactly how many of them have been fired or laid off for that matter as a result of the closure of business, and even the government for that matter have furlough. So all this carries a burden with the program. And that's how that figure arrived over the years of, people not coming back to do their duty as far as the 2 years requirement to, be here and be part of the workforce.
Thank you. Do you have any recommendation to the committee of, I know you just mentioned that currently the collection letters are being suspended because of the current situation, but I'm wondering whether the board have ever had any conversation about what are you going to do with this receivable in terms of trying to collect from individuals that you are probably having a hard time tracking down. And I'm also wondering whether these particular liability on the individuals are their credit ratings being affected. Normally in the United States, when you go out and try to borrow money or even try to get a mortgage loan for a home, that they do a credit check on you. And I'm wondering if a lot of these receivables are also affecting the lives of our people that have, not paid back. And what is the board planning on doing, and what kind of recommendation do you have for the committee? I would like for you to kind of think about that. You don't have to answer me this afternoon, but it's something to think about. And the other thing that came to mind actually is tracking system. I'm wondering, do you guys have a tracking system in place? How do you go about tracking the students?
We do.
You do? What kind of software are you using? Excel?
I'm gonna verify with our administrator, Madam Chair, so that we'll get back to you.
That's it, thank you. I don't have any further questions for you, Mr. Rabata. Thank you very much. We're going to close the discussion. Now we're going to move on to agenda number 6, and under the announcements, that'll be for nominee 1, Kate Tenari, and he will be scheduled at 2:30 in the afternoon next week, Monday. That's the announcement. I have no further conversation or anything more to talk about on this agenda. May I hear a motion to adjourn?
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Recognize Mr.
I know
Sabino.
that we have under item 3, adoption of committee meeting journal. Are we going to act on that?
No, that actually has been revised. Are you looking at the old agenda? The agenda has been revised. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yes, you're looking at the prior. Yeah, that has been amended. Thank you. Don't worry, I know we're so busy. Thank you very much. Okay, so may I hear a motion for adjournment of this meeting? Okay, has been moved and seconded. This meeting has been adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Don't let him off. Sorry.
Don't worry. I was kind of worried that it's gonna come up.